Good morning student. Myself Dr. Ibha Rani. In this video, I will be discussing about how to calculate risk and return of a portfolio. You are an investor and you have invested in different investment options. How to calculate the risk and return of that particular portfolio. So when it comes to investing, there is a trade-off between the level of risk and the potential return. In general, higher the level of risk, higher the potential return and vice versa. So risk is the potential for loss or uncertainty in any investment, while return is the gain or profit earned on an investment. For example, you are investing in stock which is generally considered as more risky than investing in the bonds. Stock can be volatile and unpredictable in nature with potential for large gains or losses. But bonds, on the other hand, are typically more stable and provide a lower return. However, the potential return on stock is often higher than the potential return on bond. So there is a trade-off balance between you have to make a balance between the risk and return. Now coming to the calculation of expected return from a portfolio. So you want to invest in some portfolio having the different securities, having the different probabilities of return in that particular portfolio. So here first we will be calculating the expected return from the portfolio. So expected value is often returned known as the long-term average or mean value, mean return. Here, mean return is talking about the over the long term of doing an experiment over and over, and you would expect this average you will be getting. The formula of expected return is summation of PI. P is talking about the probability of different securities and R is the return on the different securities. So expected return will be calculated based on this formula, that is the summation of probability multiplied by return by summation of those probability and the return. Now we will understand this formula with the example. For example, you have invested in three securities having X, Y and Z with the following expected return and probability. So in security X, your expected return is 8%, having the probability is 0.4. It means that by the calculation you understood that the chances of the return from the security X is 8% and the probability of getting 8% is 0.4. Security Y is having the expected return of 10% with a probability of 0.3, while security Z is expected return of 12% having the probability of 0.3. Now we will calculate for this example the expected return. The formula of expected return is summation of probability multiplied by the return of your different securities. So here the first one is 0.4, the probability of first security or security X, and the return of the security X was the 8%. Here I have converted 8% as 0.08, 8% divided by the 100, or you can directly multiply 0.4 multiplied by 8 also, the result will be the same only, plus 0.3 multiplied by 0.1, that is the 10% return, plus last security, that is Z security, was the 0.12, 12% return having the probability of 0.3. After multiplying and addition of all these three securities, I am getting the value of 0.98, which you need to convert into the percentage, because whenever you are calculating the risk and return, it will be calculated in terms of percentage itself. That's why, so the expected return of this example on your portfolio you will be getting as 9.8%. Here either return can be converted into decimal point, or directly you can multiply your return percentage with the probability, you will be getting the same value. So in this example we understood how to calculate the expected return. Now we will be calculating the risk. Risk in finance and investing, when you are in as an investor, risk will be calculated in terms of standard deviation. So standard deviation, it is a statistical measure of how much a set of data deviates from its average or mean value. Standard deviation is also known as RMS value, means root mean square deviation. How the return is deviated from your expected return. Here mean return we have calculated in terms of expected return. So the formula of standard deviation is root of summation of R, that is the return of securities, minus your expected return, what we have calculated, square of those values, which should be multiplied by the probability of your return. So this is the formula of calculation of risk or in terms of standard deviation. Now the same example I'll continue with the how to calculate the standard deviation. So to calculate the standard deviation in Excel also you can calculate, or you can calculate it by hand also. So return, this is the questions. They have given the return in percentage of different X and Y and Z securities. These are the return: 8%, 10% and 12%. And the probability of return, they have given you 0.4, 0.3 and 0.3. These two values we got it in the from the questions itself. Now the first is we have to calculate the expected return. That already we have calculated how to, I have discussed how to calculate the expected return. So your return is 8%, which should be multiplied by your probability. So 8 multiplied by 0.4 is 3.2. Then 10 multiplied by 0.3 is 3, and 12 multiplied by 0.3 is 3.6. Addition of all those values, these three values will give the expected return, that is the 9.8%. So in the last also we have calculated the expected return, that is the 9.8% we got it. Coming to the standard deviation, this format, if you will remember, it will be very easy to calculate the standard deviation. So the first column is your return, second column will give you the probability, third column you can calculate by multiplying the return into the probability, that is P into R. Now whatever the expected return we have calculated, that should be subtracted with the return, the percentage return what you are getting. So the next column will talk about return minus expected return what we have calculated over here. After that, whatever the value is R minus ER we are getting, it should be multiplied by the same value, means R minus ER ka square of those value we will be doing. The last column will be talking about the multiply this value with the probability. So this is the format, if you will be remembering, it will be very easy to calculate the standard deviation. So here in this example, already expected return I have calculated, that is the 9.8%. Now the return should be subtracted by the expected return. So here return is 8, 8 minus 9.8, 10 minus 9.8, 12 minus 9.8. We got the value of minus 1.8, 0.2 and 2.2. Now this value should be squared, or means it should be multiplied by the same value. So minus 1.8 multiplied by 1.8, it will be always the minus value when you square, it will give you the plus value. So minus 1.8 multiplied by minus 1.8 will give you 3.24. 0.2 multiplied by 0.2, it's give 0.04. 2.2 multiplied by the same value, it will give you 4.84. So this column we have calculated, that is the square of return minus expected return ka square value we have calculated. Now this column should be multiplied by the probability values. The last column will talk about the P into R minus ER ka square. So here probability, the first probability is 0.4. It should be this 3.24 should be multiplied by 0.4, which will give you 1.296. Then 0.04 should be multiplied by 0.3, which have given the value of 0.012, and 0.3 should be multiplied by the 4.84, the third value, so it's giving 1.452. Now the summation of these three values, the X securities X P into R minus ER square, Y and Z. If you will add all these values, we got it the value of 2.76. Now I have discussed about the formula of standard deviation. Standard deviation formula is root of summation of P into R minus ER ka square. So this value we got it 2.76. So standard deviation will be root of 2.76. So 1.66% we got it the standard deviation or the risk. So in this example, when you will be having that three securities X, Y, Z, having the return is 8%, 10% and 12% with the probability 0.4, 0.3 and 0.3. We got the expected return is 9.8%, while the standard deviation is only 1.66%. So thank you. I hope you understood how to calculate risk and return of a portfolio having the different securities. Thank you. Thank you for tuning with us. We will be see you. I will be looking for you next week.